My sister Vanessa demanded I pay $8,000 for my niece's party, so I called the venue and set a trap they never saw coming. My father threatened to disown me if I didn't pay, but by sunrise, they learned that the family bank was officially and permanently closed. This is where the story truly begins, and you won't want to miss what happens. Make sure you're subscribed to see it through to the end. We're always curious. Where in the world are you all watching from today? Let us know in the comments. The migraine had been clinging to me for 3 days, a relentless, throbbing pressure behind my right eye that made the sterile white of my office walls feel like an interrogation. I was 44 years old, a partner at my law firm, and specialized in the meticulous, ironclad language of contracts. I was precise, I was organized, and I was, at that moment, utterly exhausted. I had just closed a brutal multi-state merger, working 80-hour weeks for a month straight. My body was staging a full-scale rebellion. I was running on caffeine and fumes, and all I wanted was to crawl into bed for a week. That was when my phone buzzed on the desk, the vibration rattling against the polished mahogany. It was a text from my sister, Vanessa. My stomach instantly tightened. Vanessa never texted just to say hello. Her messages were always prologues to a request, usually financial. I squinted against the light of the screen, my head pounding. It wasn't a text. It was a picture. A picture of a reservation confirmation for Le Chatelet, one of the most absurdly expensive event venues in the city. Below it, another picture. My niece, Lucy, grinning in a designer dress that looked like it cost more than my first car. Then another, a screenshot of a DJ's website, complete with pyrotechnics. Finally, a text message landed. Harriet, Lucy's Sweet 16 is going to be iconic, just wired the deposits. The total is $16,000. Your half is $8,000. Need it by Friday. Zoxo. I stared at the message, the words blurring and sharpening with the pulse in my head. Your half. As if this was a shared utility bill. As if I had been consulted. As if I hadn't just paid off her credit card dead again 3 months ago. The sheer, unadulterated audacity of it was breathtaking. I had always been the family safety net. The responsible one. The one who sacrificed, who saved, who built a life from discipline and exhaustion, while Vanessa built a life from my bank account. I typed a single, measured sentence, my thumb shaking slightly from a combination of rage and fatigue. Vanessa, that is an astronomical amount of money. I cannot pay for this. The reply was instantaneous, as if she'd been waiting, phone in hand. Don't be like this, Harriet. It's for Lucy. Don't you want your niece to be happy? It's just money. You have plenty. It's just money. The phrase echoed in my skull. Money I'd earned by missing holidays, by working weekends, by sacrificing relationships. Money she treated like it grew on a tree in my backyard, a tree she was perfectly happy to strip bare. I placed the phone face down. I couldn't deal with this. Not now. I closed my eyes, pressing the heels of my palms against my temples. I needed to draft a response, something firm, something final. But before I could, the phone buzzed again. This time, the caller ID made my blood run cold. Dad. I let it ring, my heart hammering against my ribs. It went to voicemail, then immediately started ringing again. He was 70, retired, and completely under Vanessa's spell. In our family dynamic, I was the engine, and he was the one who handed Vanessa the keys. With a sigh of resignation, I answered. Hi, Dad. Don't hi, Dad me, Harriet. His voice boomed, sharp and cold. Vanessa just told me you're refusing to help with Lucy's party, after everything we've done for you. I winced. Dad, it's not helping. It's $8,000 for a one-night party. It's reckless. She didn't even ask me. It's for your niece, he shouted, and I had to pull the phone away from my ear. It's family, Harriet, or have you gotten too rich and important to remember that? Vanessa is trying her best. She's an event planner. Appearances are important. She's a part-time event planner who lives in a house I put the down payment on, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. She needs to live within her means. There was a pause, a heavy, loaded silence. Then his voice dropped to a level that I knew meant he was about to deliver the final blow. You know, your mother, God rest her soul, would be ashamed of you. Absolutely ashamed. You pay up or you're dead to us. Do you understand me? You'll be out of this family for good. The line clicked dead. I sat there, the receiver still pressed to my ear, the dial tone buzzing. The threat wasn't new, but it had never been so explicit. Pay up or you're dead to us. All for a party, all for Vanessa's ego. The room spun, the migraine roaring to life. It wasn't the money, not really. It was the expectation, the entitlement, the complete and utter disregard for me as a person, reducing me to nothing more than a walking, talking ATM. And in that moment, something inside me didn't just break, it hardened. It crystallized into a single, cold point of clarity. I had spent my entire life trying to earn their love, and all I had managed to do was purchase their resentment. The betrayal was worse than the migraine itself. The immediate aftermath was a blur of numbing silence. I sat in my office until the sun went down, the city lights twinkling on outside my window, mocking me with their festivity. I didn't cry. I was too tired to cry. I was just empty. The emotional exhaustion was so profound it eclipsed the physical. My father's words, dead to us, replayed in a loop, a vicious soundtrack to my sister's entitled demands. I drove home on autopilot, the migraine having settled into a dull, manageable ache. My apartment was quiet, meticulously clean and empty. It was my sanctuary, the one place in the world that was entirely mine, built and paid for by my own relentless work. As I dropped my keys into the ceramic bowl by the door, a wave of profound loneliness washed over me. I had built these walls to keep the world out, but tonight they felt like a prison. My phone, which I'd put on silent, lit up on the kitchen counter. A cascade of notifications. 14 missed calls from Vanessa, 6 from my father, and a new string of texts. Vanessa, Harriet, answer your phone. This isn't funny. Vanessa, you're ruining this for Lucy. She's going to be devastated. Vanessa, Dad is furious. You better fix this. Vanessa, I'm not kidding, Harriet. Don't do this to me. Dad, your sister is in tears. I hope you're proud of yourself. Dad, I meant what I said. This is your last chance. I read them all with a strange sense of detachment, as if they were messages for someone else. Don't do this to me, not don't do this to Lucy, or don't do this to our family. Don't do this to me. It was always about her. I made myself a cup of tea, my hands steady. The anger from earlier had cooled, settling into something else. Something colder, heavier. Resolve. As a contract lawyer, my entire career was built on reading the fine print, on understanding leverage, obligations, and consequences. I had treated my family as an emotional negotiation for decades, and I had lost every time. I had been trying to win a case that was rigged from the start. I picked up the phone, but I didn't call Vanessa or my father. I called my niece, Lucy. She picked up on the second ring, her voice bright and bubbly. Hi, Aunt Harriet. Hey, Luce, how are you? Oh my God, I'm amazing. Mom is planning the most incredible party. It's going to be insane. Did you see the pictures? I did, I said evenly. It looks very elaborate. Are you excited? Excited? I'm going to die. Everyone is going to be there. It's going to be the best party of the year. I paused, choosing my words carefully. Luce, honey, I know your mom is handling the planning, but I wanted to talk to you about something else. Your birthday present from me. Oh, yeah. I was thinking, I said, swirling the tea in my mug. A party is one night, but you've been talking about that summer pre-college program at the Art Institute for 2 years. The application deadline is next month. I was thinking I'd like to pay for that. The tuition, the housing, all of it. And I'll give you a stipend for your supplies. There was a sudden, sharp silence on the other end. For a second, I thought the call had dropped. Lucy. That's Aunt Harriet, that's. Wow, that's a lot of money. It is, I agreed. But it's an investment in you, in your future. A party is over in a few hours. This is something that could help shape your career. It's what you've always said you wanted to do. I heard a muffled voice in the background. Vanessa, who is that? Is that your aunt? Give me the phone. Mom, wait. There was a rustle, and then Vanessa's voice, sharp as glass, was in my ear. What are you doing, Harriet? Trying to bribe my daughter. I was offering my niece a birthday present, Vanessa, something that will actually matter in 5 years. Oh, I see, she sneered. You won't pay for the party everyone is excited about, but you'll wave this other thing in her face to make me look bad. You're unbelievable. You're trying to turn her against me. I'm trying to give her a future, I said, my patience snapping. Something you clearly don't care about as much as a DJ and a limousine. You selfish. She was sputtering, incandescent with rage. You know what? Fine, keep your money, but you're not welcome at the party. And you're not welcome in this family. Dad meant it. We're done with you. She hung up. I set the phone down. The house was quiet again. I looked at the reservation confirmation she had sent me earlier. Le Chatelet, a notoriously difficult venue. They required massive deposits, yes, but they also had notoriously strict contracts. Contracts I knew for a fact were ironclad. Contracts that, as one of the city's top contract lawyers, I may have even had a hand in drafting the standard language for. Vanessa had been an event planner for less than a year. She was all flash, no substance. She would have signed whatever they put in front of her. A slow, cold smile touched my lips. I picked up my phone again and opened my laptop. It was time to read the fine print. Vanessa and my father had forgotten one crucial thing. They thought I was just the family bank. They had forgotten I was a lawyer. My family's dynamic had been set in stone for decades, cast from the mold of my mother's long illness. I was 18 when she was diagnosed. Vanessa was 14. Our father, Christopher, a man who had always been more comfortable with a briefcase than a bedside, simply checked out. The emotional and logistical burden fell on me. I managed the appointments, the insurance, the household, all while navigating my first year of university. I learned to be hyper-competent because I had no other choice. Vanessa, meanwhile, was treated as the fragile one, the one who needed to be protected from the grim reality. She was allowed to be the child, to have the high school experience I'd forfeited. Our father encouraged it. Let her be, Harriet, he'd say. She's sensitive. You're the strong one. Strong became a synonym for capable of being burdened. Sensitive became a synonym for exempt from responsibility. After our mother passed, I put myself through law school, working 2 jobs. Vanessa dropped out of community college to find herself, which translated to a series of low-paying jobs she'd quit the moment they became difficult, and a string of boyfriends who paid her bills. When she met her now ex-husband, I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I was finally off the hook. But the marriage was short-lived, leaving her with Lucy and a mountain of debt. And so the pattern resumed. I wasn't just Aunt Harriet, I was Aunt Harriet the ATM. I paid for Lucy's private school. I co-signed Vanessa's lease. I paid for the emergency room visit when Vanessa tried a wellness retreat and ended up with heat stroke. I paid, and I paid, and I paid. My father, retired and living on a modest pension, became Vanessa's chief enabler. He saw her as the victim of a cruel world and me as the designated rescuer. My success wasn't a source of pride for him, it was a resource, a utility. Anytime I tried to set a boundary, I was selfish, ungrateful, or forgetting where I came from. They formed a perfect, parasitic bond, united in their shared belief that I owed them. Now, looking at the contract for Le Chatelet, I saw just how deep Vanessa's incompetence ran. I had found the venue's standard agreement on their public portal. She wouldn't have just wired a deposit, she would have signed the full agreement. And in that agreement, I knew would be a payment schedule. A deposit to hold the date and a series of installments, with the full balance due 30 days prior to the event. But the most critical part, the part Vanessa would have skipped right over, was the personal guarantee clause. Because my sister had no real credit or business history as an event planner, the venue would have demanded a guarantor. Someone with assets. Someone who would be personally liable if or when she defaulted. Vanessa wouldn't have used her own name. She had no assets to leverage. A knot of ice formed in my stomach. She couldn't. I pulled up the state's business registry. Vanessa's Vibrant Events, LLC, formed 6 months ago. I cross-referenced it with the property records for her house, the house I had put the down payment on, the house I had co-signed the mortgage for. There it was. She had used the house as collateral. My house. My name. She had leveraged my mortgage co-signature to guarantee the loan for her fledgling, failing business. And she had undoubtedly used that same business line of credit to sign the contract with Le Chatelet. She hadn't just asked me for $8,000. She had already made me legally responsible for the entire $16,000 and probably much more. If I didn't pay, the venue wouldn't just sue her, they would sue me. They would put a lien on the house. This wasn't an ask, it was extortion. She had strapped a financial bomb to my back and was now demanding I pay her not to light the fuse. The sheer, calculated malice of it took my breath away. She and my father hadn't just threatened me, they had actively set a trap. They were counting on me being the responsible one, the one who would pay up to avoid the legal mess, to protect my own credit and assets. This was no longer about a party. This was war. The shift inside me was palpable. The weary, put-upon daughter was gone, and the contract lawyer had taken her place. The migraine had vanished, replaced by a sharp, cold focus. They thought they had me cornered. They thought I had two options, pay up or suffer the consequences. They had overlooked the third option. I was the one who wrote the consequences. My clever trap wasn't something I had to build. It was something Vanessa had already signed. The contract. My entire life was about enforcing the letter of the law. I spent the next 2 hours in a deep dive. I didn't just look at the venue contract. I looked at everything. I pulled the articles of incorporation for her LLC. I pulled the financing agreements she had signed, the ones that used my co-signed mortgage as a guarantee. I was meticulous. I cross-referenced every date, every signature, every clause. And I found the flaws. When Vanessa registered her LLC, she had listed me as a silent partner in her financing application. She had done this, no doubt, to secure the loan using my credit score and asset history. But to do that, she would have needed my signature. I looked at the scanned document. It was a forgery, a sloppy one. She had tried to trace my signature from another document, but the pressure was wrong, the angle of the T was off. To a bank's cursory glance, it might pass. To me, it was a declaration of fraud. She hadn't just been entitled, she had been criminal. This changed everything. The $16,000 party was a symptom. The disease was the fraudulent business loan. Le Chatelet was just one of many creditors she had likely secured using my forged signature. I immediately called my own lawyer, Michael, a man I'd worked with for 15 years. It was 11:00 p.m. He picked up on the first ring. "Harriet," he said, his voice instantly alert, "this can't be good." "It's bad, Michael," I said, and I walked him through it. The co-signed house, the LLC, the forged signature, the venue. He was silent for a long moment. "Wow, Harriet, this is scorched earth territory. This is wire fraud." "I know," I said, "but it's my leverage. She's in breach of the financing agreement, which means the loan is in default. And since the LLC is a house of cards, she has no protection. She's personally liable, but so am I as long as that forgery holds." "What do you want to do?" he asked. "We can go to the bank, report the fraud. They'll freeze her accounts and likely pursue criminal charges." I thought about Lucy. I thought about the sheer public humiliation of it all. I didn't want my niece to see her mother in handcuffs. Not yet. I wanted to dismantle Vanessa's life, not detonate it. "No," I said. "Not yet. I want to contain this. I want to sever myself from her completely and legally. The bank is one thing, but the immediate threat is this party. She's using the fraudulent loan to pay for it. I'm already on the hook for the venue." "What's the plan?" "The venue," I said, looking at the contract. "Le Chatelet. The contract will have a payment schedule. She's paid the deposit. The next installment will be due soon. She's counting on my $8,000 to make it. When she defaults on that next payment, the venue's cancellation clause kicks in." "And," Michael prompted. "And," I said, a grim satisfaction rising in me, "the cancellation clause will state that all deposits are non-refundable. But it will also state that the client, Vanessa, is liable for the full remaining balance. When she can't pay, they'll come after the guarantor. Me." "So you're still going to have to pay," he said, confused. "No," I said, That's when you call them. You inform them as my legal counsel that the business loan used for the deposit was secured by fraud. You show them the forged signature. You explain that Vanessa's Vibrant Events has no legitimate capital and that my client, Harriet, is also a victim. You make it clear that if they try to come after me for the balance, I will countersue them and the bank for failure of due diligence. I will tie them up in litigation for years. Michael let out a low whistle. "You're offering them a choice." "Exactly. They can either walk away from the $16,000, keeping the deposit she already paid as a service fee for their trouble, and cancel the event, or they can face a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. I'm betting they'll choose to cut their losses." "This is brutal, Harriet." "They wanted a war, Michael," I said, looking at the blinking cursor on my screen. They just didn't realize I was the one with all the weapons. The next 2 days were silent. I didn't respond to Vanessa's frantic texts. I let my father's irate calls go straight to voicemail. I was, as far as they knew, the disobedient daughter, the selfish sister, hiding in shame. In reality, I was gathering my armor. Michael had confirmed it all. The bank, upon seeing the forgery evidence, had internally flagged the account. They were holding, waiting for my signal. The signal would be Vanessa's default. According to the venue contract, the second installment of $4,000 was due by 5:00 p.m. on Thursday. The party was on Saturday. At 5:01 p.m. on Thursday, my phone rang. It was Vanessa. I let it ring. 5:02 p.m., Vanessa again. 5:03 p.m., a text. Harriet, the venue just called. The payment didn't go through. My card was declined. I need you to send the money now. 5:04 p.m., a text from my father. Pick up your phone. You're playing a dangerous game, girl. I let them simmer. I waited until 6:00 p.m. Then I called Vanessa. She picked up before the first ring finished, her voice a strained shriek. Harriet, thank God, you need to transfer the money. They're going to cancel the venue. You have to do it right now. Hello, Vanessa, I said. My voice as calm and cool as a courtroom. Don't hello, Vanessa me. The payment is late. Lucy's party is in 2 days. Send the money. I'm afraid I can't do that, I said. What do you mean you can't? It's just $8,000, just do it. Actually, I said, leaning back in my office chair, it's not. The payment that was due today was $4,000, which you apparently don't have, because the bank, it seems, has frozen your business account. The silence on the other end was heavy, suffocating. I could hear her sharp, panicked breathing. How, she whispered, how did you know that? Because my lawyer informed the bank about the fraudulent loan you took out by forging my signature. I let the words hang in the air. This was the reveal, the moment the trap sprung. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered, but the panic was dissolving her bravado. That's crazy. I would never. Stop lying, Vanessa. I cut her off, my voice sharp. I have the loan application. I have the scan of your sloppy, pathetic forgery. I have the articles of incorporation where you listed me as a partner without my consent. You didn't just ask me for money, you stole from me. You committed wire fraud, a felony. She was sobbing now, a wet, gasping sound. I had to get the business started. It was just to get it on its feet. I was going to pay it back. Pay it back with what? By throwing $16,000 parties you couldn't afford. By demanding $8,000 from me. You weren't building a business, Vanessa. You were building a raft of debt, and you tied me to it to make sure I'd drown with you. You're wrong, she shrieked, the tears turning back to rage. You're trying to ruin me. You're just jealous. You've always been jealous of me and Lucy. The accusation was so absurd, so delusional that I almost laughed. Jealous? Of what? Your mountain of debt, your criminal activities, your complete dependence on everyone else. Dad, she screamed, and I realized I was on speakerphone. Dad, she's threatening me. My father's voice came on the line, shaking with fury. Harriet, you stop this right now. You stop threatening your sister. Whatever loan she took, it was for the family. You will call off your lawyers and you will pay that venue. I am not going to have this family humiliated. There is no family to humiliate, I said, my voice dropping. You made that clear. I'm dead to you, remember? Well, this is me dead. The person you're talking to is Harriet, the contract lawyer, the one whose name your other daughter forged on a federal document." You wouldn't," Christopher stammered. "You wouldn't send your own sister to jail." "Oh, I'm not the one who would send her," I said. "The bank would. The U.S. Attorney's Office would. All I have to do is sign the affidavit." But you know what? I'm not going to, not yet." A shaky sigh of relief from Vanessa. "I'm not going to," I continued, "on one condition. You are going to call Le Chatelet right now in the next 5 minutes. You are going to officially cancel the party. You will forfeit your deposit, and you will accept the full cancellation. If you do that, my lawyer will not proceed." "Cancel?" Vanessa's voice was a horrified whisper. "Cancel Lucy's party? No, no, I can't. Everything is. The invitations. The dress." "That's the deal, Vanessa. You cancel your fantasy or you face reality. Your choice." "You're a monster," my father spat. "You're enjoying this." "No," I said, and the exhaustion I'd felt days ago returned, heavy as a shroud. "I'm just tired. I'm tired of being your bank. I'm tired of being your scapegoat. And I am done being your victim." I paused. "You have 5 minutes, Vanessa. Then I'm calling Michael." I hung up. For an hour, there was nothing. I sat, watching my phone, wondering if she would call my bluff. Part of me, a small, weary part, almost hoped she would. It would be a clean break. A criminal charge, a trial, a definitive end. It would be messy, but it would be over. Then the email came. It was from Vanessa, but it was a forwarded message from Le Chatelet. Subject: cancellation confirmed, event ID 4492. Lucy's Sweet 16. Dear Ms. Vanessa, per your phone call, we are confirming the official cancellation of your event scheduled for this Saturday. As per the terms of your contract, all deposits are non-refundable. We wish you the best. She had done it. She had caved. But my relief was short-lived. 2 minutes later, my father called. This time, I answered. "You did it," he said. His voice was no longer booming. It was low, seething with a hatred I had never heard directed at me. "You really did it. You ruined your niece's birthday." "Vanessa ruined it," I said, my voice flat. "She ruined it with fraud and entitlement. She's your sister. She made a mistake. She was trying to give her daughter one nice thing, something you, with all your money, wouldn't." "I offered to send Lucy to a pre-college art program," I shot back. "A real gift, a real future. You two were the ones who wanted a $16,000 party." "You just had to win, didn't you?" he hissed. "You had to humiliate her. You couldn't just pay. You had to bring in lawyers, threats. You had to destroy her." "I was protecting myself," I said, my voice rising. "She used my name, my credit, my assets. She put my entire life at risk. And you encouraged her, you threatened me. You told me I was dead to you if I didn't pay for her crime." "You're dead to me now," he said, and the finality in his voice was absolute. "Don't call, don't come by, you have no family here. You and your blood money can stay in your empty, cold apartment. Goodbye, Harriet." He hung up. I should have felt victorious. I had won. I had stopped the party, I had protected my finances, I had exposed Vanessa. But I just felt hollow. He was right. My apartment was empty. I had won the battle, but I was, in that moment, completely and utterly alone. But the case wasn't closed. Vanessa was desperate, and my father was her enabler. They wouldn't just let this go. They would retaliate. I was right. The next morning, I got a call from Michael. "Harriet," he said, "you're not going to like this. Your father just called me." He called you. Oh, yeah, he threatened to report me to the bar, said I coerced and blackmailed your sister, said you're mentally unstable, and that I took advantage of a family dispute. He was yelling so loud my assistant could hear him. I closed my eyes. He's trying to intimidate me. He's trying, Michael agreed, but he also tipped his hand. He said, and I quote, "Harriet is going to pay for what she did. Vanessa has proof that Harriet was in on this from the beginning." It's nonsense, obviously, but it tells me their next move. They're not going to just walk away. They're going to try to paint you as the criminal. He was right. They couldn't win on the facts, so they were going to invent new ones. They were going to lie. They were going to claim I was a willing participant in the fraud, that I'd had a change of heart and was now framing Vanessa to get out of paying. "So what do?" I asked. "We cut the head off the snake," Michael said. "We can't just sever you from the LLC. We need to dismantle it, and we need to get to the other creditors before she does. That fraudulent loan wasn't just for the party. Where else did the money go? The designer dress? The limo? The DJ? She would have paid deposits to all of them." He was right. Le Chatelet was just the biggest piece. "Okay," I said, a new, harder resolve setting in. "So we build the full case. I want statements from every vendor she booked. I want a full accounting from the bank of where every dollar from that fraudulent loan went. I want to know exactly how deep this rot goes. And when you have it, then I'll know what to do," I said. For the next 24 hours, Michael and his team were ruthless. They contacted the limo company, the dress boutique, the DJ. In every case, it was the same story. A small deposit paid from the LLC with the balance due on the day. And in every contract, a cancellation clause. But the most damning piece of evidence came from the bank. The loan was for $50,000, not $16,000. The party was just a fraction of it. The rest, withdrawn in cash, siphoned, hidden. She hadn't just been planning a party. She had been planning to run. She was going to throw the party, pay the vendors with my $8,000, and disappear with the $34,000 in cash, leaving me to deal with the loan, the venue, and the fallout. This wasn't just entitlement. It wasn't just fraud. It was a calculated, sociopathic exit plan. And she was going to have her big party on Saturday night, one way or another. I looked at the clock. It was Friday afternoon. The original party was canceled, but Vanessa was an event planner. She was desperate. She was cornered. She would have a backup. I called Lucy. She didn't pick up. I texted her. "Luce, I know you're angry at me, but I need to know where your party is tomorrow. It's important." A text came back, but it wasn't from Lucy's number. It was from Vanessa, using Lucy's phone. "Stay away from my daughter, you psycho. The party is on, no thanks to you. We're having it at Dad's. You're not invited." At Dad's, of course. A final, defiant gathering to prove that I hadn't won, that they didn't need me. They would use the cash she'd siphoned to throw a smaller, but still extravagant, party in the backyard. A final up yours to the sister who had tried to ruin their plans. "Michael," I said, calling him back, "the party is still on. It's at my father's house, tomorrow night. What are you going to do?" I looked at the file on my desk. The file that detailed $50,000 of fraud. The file that proved a conspiracy to defraud a bank and a family member. "The party is at my father's," I said, "and my father is an accessory. He's been harassing my lawyer. He's been enabling the fraud. He's complicit." "Harriet." They want a showdown, I said, my voice ice. They're going to get one, but it won't be me they're facing. Get the complete file ready. We're going to present it. To who? To the only people who matter, the bank's fraud department and the police. Saturday night, I wasn't at my father's house. I was in my apartment in my pajamas, drinking a cup of chamomile tea. Michael had filed the official police report that morning, along with a complete, irrefutable evidence package. The bank's fraud department, now facing a massive liability, had moved with lightning speed, cooperating fully. An arrest warrant for Vanessa had been issued by 4:00 p.m. My father's house was, as I'd predicted, lit up. From the photos a private investigator I'd hired was sending me, it was a full-blown event. A large white tent in the backyard. A DJ, a different one, was set up on the patio. Teenagers were everywhere. Lucy, in her designer dress, was in the center of it all, smiling, oblivious. Vanessa was playing the host, wine glass in hand, laughing with the other parents. My father, Christopher, was beaming, holding court by the barbecue, the proud patriarch. They were defiant. They were celebrating their victory over me. They were showing the world that they were fine, that I was the one who was a pariah. At 7:32 p.m., my pai sent a text. They're here. I watched on a secure video feed. 2 police cruisers, lights off, rolled quietly to a stop in front of the house. 2 uniformed officers and 2 plainclothes detectives walked up the driveway. The music stopped abruptly. The video feed from a camera positioned with a view of the patio showed the moment. A detective, a calm-looking woman in a blazer, approached my father. He immediately puffed up, his face reddening. He started gesturing, pointing, his voice inaudible but his body language pure rage. He was telling them to leave, that this was a private party. The detective didn't flinch. She simply showed him the warrant. Vanessa saw it, her smile vanished. The wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the stone patio. She made a move, a half-step back toward the house. Ms. Vanessa, the detective's voice called out, sharp and clear, please stay where you are. All the teenagers, including Lucy, were frozen, watching. The other parents had their phones out. Vanessa, the detective said, walking calmly toward her, you are under arrest for bank fraud, identity theft, and forgery. No, Vanessa shrieked, a sound of pure animal panic. No, you can't, she did this. Harriet, my sister did this, it's a lie. You'll have time to tell your side of the story, ma'am, the detective said, as a uniformed officer gently but firmly took Vanessa's arms to place them behind her back. Dad, Vanessa screamed, thrashing. Dad, do something, tell them it was Harriet. My father, Christopher, stood frozen. His face was ashen. He looked from Vanessa, struggling against the officers, to the crowd of shocked parents, to his granddaughter, Lucy, who had her hands over her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. Dad. My father looked at the detectives. He looked at the handcuffs. And he did nothing. He was a bully, a man of loud words and empty threats. Faced with real, tangible consequences, he crumbled. He was a coward. Lucy, Vanessa shrieked as they led her away. Lucy, baby, call Aunt Harriet. Tell her to stop this. Call her. She can fix this. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I'll pay her back. And that was the final, pathetic reveal. In her moment of ultimate desperation, she didn't call on her father, the enabler. She called on me, the monster, the fixer, the ATM, the one person she believed, even as she was being arrested for crimes against me, still had the power to make it all go away. The feed showed Lucy, tears streaming down her face, pulling out her phone. She didn't call me. She ran inside, sobbing. The party was over. The music was gone. The parents were grabbing their children, herding them away from the scene. My father was left standing alone on the patio, amidst the wreckage of a shattered wine glass and a collapsed tent of lies. He looked old. He looked small. I turned off the video feed. I took a sip of my tea. It had gone cold. The downfall was as swift as it was total. Vanessa, faced with an ironclad case, had no choice. To avoid a trial and a longer sentence, she pleaded guilty to wire fraud and identity theft. The $50,000 loan, which she'd mostly hidden, was seized. The judge, seeing her as a first-time offender and a single mother, was lenient. She was sentenced to 2 years, suspended with 5 years of probation, 1,000 hours of community service, and most critically, full court-ordered restitution to me and the bank. My father's humiliation was complete. His name was in the local paper, tied to his daughter's fraud. His friends, the ones he'd been holding court for at the party, shunned him. He was a social pariah, the blustering patriarch of a broken, criminal family. He sold the house, his backyard shrine of defiance, and moved into a small, sterile apartment in a retirement community. He never contacted me again, and I, in turn, never contacted him. The most complex piece of the wreckage was Lucy. About a week after the arrest, she called me. Her voice was small, hesitant. "Aunt Harriet." "Hi, Luce," I said softly. I'm living with my dad now," she said. "Mom, well, you know." "I know. I'm sorry you had to see that, Lucy." She was quiet for a long time. "She told me you did it, that you were just, being mean, that you were jealous." "I know," I said. "It's more complicated than that." I found the loan papers," she whispered. "In her desk. While I was packing, I saw the signature, the one she faked." I closed my eyes. "Oh, Lucy." "It was all a lie, wasn't it?" she said, her voice breaking. "The whole thing, the party, the business, all of it." "Your mother is very sick, Lucy," I said, borrowing the language of my own childhood, but this time it was true. "She's sick in a way that makes her hurt people, especially the people who love her." Did you mean it?" she asked, her voice trembling. "About the art program?" "I did," I said. "The offer is still on the table. It was never about the party, Luce. It was always about you." I paid for the program, and the next summer I paid for it again. I flew out to see her final exhibit. She was brilliant. She was talented. And she was free of the poison that had defined her mother's life. We began to build something new, something tentative and fragile but real. A relationship built not on obligation or transaction, but on mutual respect. As for me, I sold the house Vanessa had tied me to. I severed the last legal and financial link to my past. My life was quieter now. My apartment didn't feel empty anymore. It felt peaceful. It was my sanctuary. I still worked hard, but I also took vacations. I reconnected with old friends. I learned to set boundaries not just in my contracts, but in my life. Justice, I learned, isn't always a dramatic courtroom explosion. Sometimes it's the quiet, meticulous work of enforcing a contract. Sometimes it's just the clicking of a lock as you finally, firmly, close the door on those who would harm you, and the turning of a key to open a new one, all on your own terms.